I just have a quick question on some different Bible versions. I come out of a independent fundamental Baptist church, King James only. It's been a little difficult explaining to them that I'm not under the influence of the devil by using the NASB now. But
Yes.
anyways, that's a different conversation. But one of my friends did show me why he prefers the King James, and we talked about it a little bit. And I sent out a tweet towards you, but I know you probably don't have time to read all his tweets. It's Hebrews 3:16, and in the NASB it reads, "For who provoked him when they had heard? Indeed, did not all those who came out of Egypt led by Moses?" In the King James seems to be quite different. It says, "For some, when they had heard, did provoke, howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses." Seems to be, quite opposite at first glance. But is there something deeper? Are we misunderstanding this? What is this talking about here?
Good question. So let me pull up where to go? I could just throw up the Byzantine there, but where did my... I don't know why I have two different setups of accordance, and I do not know why the one here at the office has a completely different listing of what my texts are, and hence where to find them. I'm trying to, there it is. That's because it's way up the top of the screen. Okay. As far as I can see, and I'm doing this fairly quickly, so I'm sure someone will do a video about that too. As far as I can see, I do see a textual variant, but it actually doesn't impact. No, it doesn't end up impacting the underlying text, the TRs. So looking at the NA28 and the TR, just really quickly here, they look identical to me. So this is a translational issue. So it's not a textual issue. It's completely translational.
This is an issue more upon like how they translated the King James.
Yep, this is the Greek is the same, and this is interpretational. And this is, let me back the truck up here for a second. While it is said, "Today, if ye will hear his voice, harden not your hearts, as in the provocation. For some, when they had heard, did provoke, howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses." Versus, "For who provoked him when they had heard? Indeed, did not all those who came out of Egypt led by Moses." Okay, this is interpretational. So this is when you have certain sentences, and when, for example, in Greek here you have tenes, and the New American Standard translators understand this as introducing a question, whereas the King James translators are rendering it as a statement. And I'm certain that when the King James translators sat around in their groups, they probably discussed both possibilities. I would, if I was going to do a full discussion of Hebrews 3:16 and why it's different, I would want to look at what the Latin Vulgate says, because the King James translators were deeply, deeply influenced by the Latin Vulgate. That was their Bible. That was the Bible they utilized. They were incredible Latin scholars. They were incredible Greek scholars too, but they were incredible Latin scholars, even more so than the Greek. And so they are understanding this as a statement that some, when they heard the message in the days of Moses, did provoke. So they did rebel, howbeit not all that came out of Egypt by Moses. So they're understanding that to say, for indeed some, and I'm looking at the Greek here, for indeed some hearing provoked, but not all those coming out from Egypt via Moses. Now, what's interesting is the NA28, the Greek that the NAS is following, well, actually, they followed the NA27 here, but anyways, has a question mark at the end of the sentence. The King James does not.
Yeah, it does.
So the King James does not. And there is, and again, all issues of punctuation, no matter what anybody says, I know if you've come out of the IFB, you've heard differently. The fact of the matter is, all issues of punctuation are editorial. There is no punctuation in the earliest manuscripts. There's no way of being able to say this was a question or anything else. That has to be a matter of interpretation. And so if you put a question, so TNS is frequently introducing a question. For example, it does Tissy related in verse 18. In the King James does have a question mark after it. And Tissy in 17 and 18, you'll notice that 17 has a question mark, but with whom was he grieved for 40 years? Question mark. Was it not with them that had sinned, whose carcasses fell in the wilderness? Question mark. And to whom swear he that they should not enter into his rest, but to them that believe not? Question mark. So the King James translators are saying, yeah, you have a series of questions here, but where do we start them? And the NAS translators start it from they see this as an entire series of questions, whereas the King James doesn't start the questions until verse 17 instead of verse 16. Off the top of my head, it's been a few years since I preached through Hebrews. I couldn't tell you which commentators to look at that would give you more information on this, but that's what's going on. It's not the underlying text. It is interpretation of what is a question and what isn't.
Right, so the Greek would agree with each other. It's just a matter of the King James translators having their preferences.
Yep. That's all it is. That's all.